Hi guys, it's Tom here, and today we have a video discussing the common and perhaps uncommon problems you may come across when you're growing a peace lily, such as the brown flowers and also the brown tips on the leaves. So let's get into the causes, how to prevent these things, and potentially how to resolve them. So first of all, let's start with some basic maintenance issues you might come across. The most common, I would say, would be dusty leaves. Okay, so the leaves should be shiny and vibrant. However, over time, every couple of months, it depends on how how many people live in your home, that kind of stuff, as to how much dust will accumulate. But these leaves do attract dust. Okay. At the same time, which is a similar sort of concern for some people, is the pollen on the plant will drop quite easily onto the leaves, especially when they're starting to go over, when the space is starting to go over, the flowers starting to fade. Pollen does drop out, and you might think it's a problem. I get questions before where they say, "Is it a pest?" No, it's not a pest. It's just a normal part of the plant. It's normal everyday maintenance. To resolve the dust and the pollen, it is a case of using a damp cloth just to wipe it clean, or what I like to do is just pop them in the shower for maybe 30 seconds, give them a good water at the same time, but it does completely clean the leaves and we're back to the normal glossy appearance. Okay, leaf color is something I've been asked about previously. So let's ignore variegated for now. Okay, there is a variegated peace lily. I talk about that more in my care video, which I've done. I'll link to it somewhere so you can have a look at it if you would like to. Let's ignore variegation. If you're looking at the only all green peace lily, okay, so there are two different types of green. Now you have the dark green and you have a lighter green, okay? So the dark green is going to be on plants which are grown in low light. The leaves will get darker if your plant is being grown in a low light location, and they will be lighter if the light level is better. If it's higher, if it's more increased, okay? So it's not really an issue. It's just, again, it's a quirk of a plant. But if you are curious about why it's so dark or why it's so light, it's going to be to do with the actual light levels affecting the green of the leaves. The next issue we're going to look at is leaf droop. So the plant will sort of hang over. Now, it's one or the other here. So it's quite a straightforward thing to work out. All you have to do is fill the pot and mix. If it is bone dry and it's drooping, then it is because it needs water and it is thirsty. If the pot and mix, when you come to touch it, is damp or wet and it's drooping, then it is overwatered. Either of those extremes can cause the plant to behave in a different way. When you're overwatering it, the droop tends to not be quite as severe. Underwatering is very, very noticeable. So you just need to sort of feel it to work it out. There tends to be three main causes of the leaves going yellow. The first one, which is possibly the most common, is aging. Okay, so if you've got one or two leaves going yellow, then it's most likely, and especially if they're the oldest leaves as well, it's most likely to be caused by an aging situation. Now, the leaves don't last forever. It's normal, it's natural, it's going to happen, okay? The plant produces a leaf and the leaf will have a limited lifespan. It will only last for so long. The second reason, it could be too much light. Now, the way you can tell that is if a lot of the leaves go a bit yellow. Earlier on, I mentioned about the leaf color. Dark leaves, low light. Light leaves equals a lot of light. If you go above a lot of light and you go to too much light, so like quite a lot of possibly sunlight, you're going to end up with some yellowing and some disfiguration on the leaf color. Okay. The third thing it could be is usually to do with watering. Okay, so it's usually overwatering. Okay, so there may be a little bit of rot in the roots, which is then triggering some of the leaves to go yellow because the plant cannot support all these leaves with less roots if the roots start to rot off, basically. Let's change up the plant. So we now have one which is flowering, so we can talk about some flower concerns. This is what we want to see. Well, I imagine most people want to see this, and you may get this, or you may also get this. So let's talk about these now. So green, we'll do the green first. So if you have a green flowering spathe, why is that? There's multiple reasons. It could be, okay, here we go, here's the list. It could be caused by too much light or not enough light. The second reason that you may get green spathes coming up is because of fertilizer. Okay, if you've been feeding the plant a lot, then it can trigger greening. Now, you may have just bought this plant and it may have some green flowers, basically. And if that's the case, then it could be that the grower has provided too much feed. If you, going forward, if you cut back a little bit, it might not happen again. okay? And then thirdly, the green flowers can be a sign of normal. Every day is what happens kind of thing. If the flower's been out for quite a while, then they can go green towards the end of their life before they sort of fade up and disappear. So greenery could be a normal consequence as well. So that's green discussed. Should we talk about brown? Yeah, let's talk about the brown. Now, again, very similar, okay? So if the plant is reaching its end of its life, it will brown up. This is normal. Whoa, there's a lot of pollen coming off this. Okay, so I've got to not shake it so much. Browning can be caused just normal again. If it was white for a while, a couple of weeks and it's gone brown, I wouldn't be concerned, okay? Wait till it completely goes brown before you remove it from the plant. So those are the most common reasons why it will be going brown. Right, we're going to look at another flowering concern, which is not enough flowers. Okay, so 3 flowers on here. Actually, there's 4. There's 4 flowers on here. That's pretty good for me. So when you buy these plants, you might have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plus flowers. In your care, you're not likely to get more than 4. This is probably, like I said, this is a record for me. I've never had this many in one go. So I'm pretty pleased about that, but it's normal, okay? Do not expect multiple flowers or blooms on your plant once you've had it after the initial flush when you first buy this plant. And the reason for that is because the growers have used a hormone, gibberellic acid, I think it is called. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. I will double check and put it on the screen. And they apply it to the plant. I've been asked this so many times, can we do it ourselves? My understanding is this is a restricted chemical, and I don't believe in most countries you can just go and buy this. And even if you could, I cannot tell you because I've never done it myself. I can't tell you how you should apply it or how much and stuff like that, or how often. I can't give you that information. If you have information and you want to share it, I would be interested. I'll be willing to listen. But like I say, for most normal growers, it's not going to be an option available for them. So a couple of flowers each year is what you can expect. Okay, and we're back with another plant which has no flowers. And that brings us on to the next problem, which is no flowers. Why does my peace lily not have any flowers on it? So the primary number one reason that peace lilies do not rebloom is because of insufficient light. You're not giving it enough light. That's why. If the leaves are quite dark, we talked about this already. If you have dark leaves, it's usually a sign of very low light levels. Check it. If you look at your plant and it has low dark leaves, it's probably low light. That's why you're not getting it to rebloom. Move it to somewhere with a brighter location. Second reason is because if you repot it, they tend to focus their energies on growing replacement or new roots into the new potting mix. So if you're desperately trying to encourage new blooms to appear, try and keep it in a slightly smaller container. You may find that it's more happily. Third reason. Now, we get moving into the realms of being speculation here, okay? So the third reason is possibly not enough feed, all right? So follow the manufacturer's instructions, okay? Feed your plant. If you know you have never fed it, that could be a sign. However, as per the green flower issue, do not overfeed your plant and just follow the manufacturer's instructions, just using everyday houseplant feed. Okay, let's start looking at some leaf issues. To start with, black tips. Okay, so if it's just on the very tip of the leaf, then it's most likely caused by overwatering, okay? Especially if there's a bit of a mushiness as well in the leaf where it's black, that is usually a sign of too much water. It can sometimes be a sign of too little water, but it's less likely. So the most primary culprit here would be too much water. If the brown has gone quite, sorry, not brown, black. If the black has gone quite deep into the leaf, so further down, then it's usually caused by cold temperatures. So you may have put the plant, or maybe it had been left outside during a cold spell, especially overnight, or you positioned it near a window, perhaps, and you've opened the window. It's the middle of the winter, you've opened the window to let some air into your home, and in doing so, you've just exposed your plant to cold temperatures and cold drafts. It doesn't like it. So it could be a sign of cold damage. Those are the 2 most likely reasons. Okay, so everyone's favorite now is the brown tips, which is prevalent on practically every single peace lily I've ever seen. Now, it's very, very common, okay? Do not feel that you are alone with this issue. Most people will have it, okay? So the brown tips, they have multiple causes. Lots of things can cause that to happen. We're talking underwatering, overwatering, a very, very low humidity, a rapid change in humidity as well. Sometimes extreme levels up and down can also trigger this as well. Salts from too much fertilizer can cause the plant to release some water at the very tips. I cannot for the life of me remember what this called. It's got a scientific name. I'll put it here. And it does produce water at the tips, usually in the morning. So if you see your plant crying in the morning, some salts that have been built up are being released at the same time. And that can cause basically almost like a fertilizer burn on the leaf edges. So that's also another common thing to be looking out for that can cause this as well. Now, because it's so normal, there's not much you can do about it because so many different things can cause it. You just need to accept it, okay? And just cut the ends off, just cut the tips off. That's all you can do. And just kind of learn to live with it. But it's not the end of the world. It's kind of a normal thing to expect. They can live a long time, okay? They can live 5 years, 10 years, possibly even 15 years in the home without really any issues. So they are relatively long-lived plants, but equally, they don't live forever, okay? And there will come a time when they just don't look great. Or, and this is sometimes what causes it, people decide that they're going to repot their plant and go into decline. So just if you do repot your plant, be really, really careful. If it's too late, if you're watching this video and you have repotted it recently and your plant is going downhill fast, or you're not sure what's causing it and it's just not looking great and you're wondering if it's the end of the line for your plant, it might be, okay? So I mentioned this before as well, but on my website, a lot of people do talk about their plants and how they were given them as a funeral plant. And some people have suggested that when that starts to happen, they will make a special day when they will go to another garden centre and they will buy a replacement piece of leaf. They'll make the day special, they'll try and link it with what's happened, and maybe that's the answer. So then you have a new plant that's another life, but it still has that connection, still has that meaning. So if that's your situation, that might be the better cause, the better solution. Rather than stressing about it and worrying about it and getting upset, that might be the better way of dealing with it. Because when they go into decline, unfortunately, there isn't a great deal more you can do. However, I don't want to end on such a negative note because they are really beautiful plants and I think they're great. And generally speaking, the problems that you do come across, they're quite limited. They're not necessarily catastrophic issues, and you can usually resolve them as we've discussed in this video. So I hope it's been helpful. If you have a problem I haven't talked about before, or if you want me to expand on anything, just drop a comment. And thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.